Hello everybody, Mark, aka The Nerdy Punk, back again for a new video, and as you can see here, we are at the movie theater. Yes, one of my favorite places on the planet. Today I am going to see the new film directed by Brandon Cronenberg titled Infinity Pool. If you happen to catch my most anticipated movies of the year video, this movie was the first one on the calendar for this year that is my most anticipated of the year. And I'm really excited for this. It's got Mia Goth in it, and it's directed by Brandon Cronenberg. Those are really the only two things I know about the movie. Those are really the only two things I need to know about the movie. I love David Cronenberg's work, and of course this is his son. And from what I've seen from him, I've seen one of his films before. He's bringing some new, fresh ideas that I really like. And of course, Mia Goth, I will practically see any horror movie that Mia Goth is in, so I'm really excited for that. I anticipated a pretty good movie. It's got pretty good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, at least. It has, I think, an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty solid. Some of the other review outlets, it's kind of been mixed a little bit. I think the overall audience score on Google right now is like 67%, so you know, not terrible, but not amazing. We'll see what I think about it. I'm going in there, of course, with an open mind, and I'm excited to see it. So this will be the very first movie that I see this year that was actually released in 2023. The only other movie that I was remotely interested in was Megan, and I didn't get a chance to see it. It's still playing at this theater. This theater is about 45 minutes from my house, so I made a little bit of a trip to see this one. There was no way this was coming to my local theater. The local theater that's about 10 minutes from me is only 5 screens. So it's very rare that we get a unique movie like this. So I have to make this drive a little bit to see these kind of slightly more obscure titles. But I believe this will be the first 2023 movie that I see this year. So I am really looking forward to this. I'm going to head into the theater. I will be back in a couple hours and just a couple seconds for you guys to give you my thoughts on Infinity Pool.
A few moments later.
Alright, so just left the theater from seeing Infinity Pool, and man, was that a weird one. Weird in a good way. I think a lot of people may have some criticisms that this is weird for the sake of being weird. I don't see that at all. I think there's definitely a lot of analogies at play in this story, but before we get too far into it, let's go ahead and quickly recap the plot. I will not spoil anything in this video, so this is the type of movie that you really should know as little as possible before going to see. So, just the general idea of what's going on. So, Alexander Skarsgård plays a character who is a struggling writer. He's dealing with writer's block. So, he and his wife plan a vacation to a remote island resort, and it is basically, it's a very dangerous country, so they are forbidden from leaving the resort. They meet another couple played by Mia Goth, and I don't know the actor's name, but Mia Goth and her husband slash boyfriend type thing, and they kind of encourage them to leave the resort, and then kind of chaos ensues once they leave the resort. I will not reveal any other details about the plot, so you can rest assured nothing will be spoiled. First of all, Mia Goth is yet again incredible. I really love her performances. I really can't say I've seen her give a bad performance ever. And everything she's done in kind of this horror, thriller, sci-fi realm is really good. I would say that this movie is less of a horror movie and more of a thriller slash sci-fi, or maybe a thriller with sci-fi elements would be a more appropriate way of describing this film. But it's definitely got those horror elements too. Alexander Skarsgård, I thought, was really good. He has to do a lot in this movie. There's a lot expected of him in his performance, and I thought it was good. The overall concept they were going for, I thought, was very interesting. There's tons of weird stuff going on here. Some of it's explained, some of it's not really explained, and I thought they made pretty good choices in that realm. The movie goes in so many different directions, and every time I thought I knew where it was going, it took it in a completely different direction. So I think that's a really good positive for this movie. Always kept me guessing, always kept me on my toes as to what's going to happen, and it was very good in that realm. It has a lot to say. There's some social commentary about tourism and kind of the first world versus third world situation, and kind of how people who live in places like the United States or Britain or France, Western Europe, how we kind of look upon and perhaps take advantage of underdeveloped countries. And I think there's definitely some commentary there. There's also all kinds of, I think, allegories in this movie, and you can read a lot into it. At one point, one of the characters literally says, "Is this a dream? Because it would make more sense if it was a dream." And I think that line was very intentional. This feels, in a very Lynchian sense almost, dreamlike. This movie feels like a nightmare that you're watching, and I love that so much. Cinematography was gorgeous. This movie is gorgeously shot. Every Brandon Cronenberg movie I've seen has been gorgeously shot, but it's such a unique cinematography style, to the point where it feels, I don't even know how to describe a Brandon Cronenberg movie, but when I see a Brandon Cronenberg movie, it feels like its own thing. It's like this kind of almost cold eeriness that just presides over the entire thing. The movie just feels very cold and bleak, and futuristic. Even though I think this movie is set in present day, it just feels very futuristic, almost to it as well. So his cinematography, I think, is fantastic. There were so many, not dream sequences, but so many sequences where stuff happens. I'm not going to reveal. You'll know it when you see the movie. There's all kinds of montage sequences where it just gets super colorful, and there's all kinds of crazy imagery on the screen. I loved those sequences so much. They are fantastic. So my overall thoughts on this movie, there's some things that I feel like could have been done a little bit better, but for the most part, this is a really well executed thriller with some of those horror sci-fi elements to it. If you like weird stuff, if you like horror, you like sci-fi, you like Mia Goth, if you like the films of David Cronenberg, you can definitely tell his father's influence on his work, in terms of just the body horror stuff, definitely. So if you like any of those things, I think you're really going to like Infinity Pool. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, really enjoyed the film. So go ahead and let me know in the comments down below if you've seen Infinity Pool, what you thought of it. I hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I will see you later.